Hey, welcome back everyone. Thank you for joining me in my studio on the beautiful coast of Maine. Today we're going to actually cover a lens that I reviewed 2 years ago. And it's almost exactly 2 years ago, and it has been one of my most popular videos. So I thought it would be smart to come back and do a long-term review, a 2-year review for the Nikon 24-120 f4S. If you recall, when I got it, I thought it was the bee's knees, and it has been a fantastic lens. And I'll go over what I like today, and yeah, let you know what I think after a full 2 years of using this thing non-stop. It's almost like a almost daily use lens for me. And it is the lens I grab no matter what when I need to shoot pretty much anything, because its zoom range is very large. All right, so let's talk about image quality. Do I still think it's as good as I thought it was? I do. I think it's sharp from edge to edge across the entire zoom range and at all apertures. Just like most of, if not all of Nikon's Z lens mount offerings, it is just an astoundingly sharp lens in all respects. I know the flange distance that Nikon touted has something to do with that. I know a lot of people think it's hyperbole, but I think the flange distance allows for a more even circle of light and allows for sharper lens design. Don't ask me how, I'm not an engineer, but I believe it does. And like I said, this thing is sharp at any f-stop, save for when you get up past 16. Remember, diffraction kicks in, but that's not really that important. For day-to-day shooting, I shoot at 22 all the time just because I end up having to try to control the light that's coming in the lens. I'm looking down at notes here. I have my notes closer to the lens now, so it makes it a little easier. One of these days, maybe I'll get one of those little mirrors that sits in front of the lens that I can just read right in front of the lens. That would be fantastic, actually. But I'm using a tablet that is hooked right under the lens. And yes, I do believe that lens design and engineering has improved over the last 15 years. So there's that as well. But you cannot deny that the Nikon lenses are sharp edge to edge. Pretty much any one of them. Sure, primes are great, but the zooms are also really, really very good and better than primes used to be. So we've really gotten to the point where just shoot with what you're comfortable with. If you like primes, shoot with primes. If you like zooms, shoot with zooms. For all intents and purposes, no one will be able to tell the difference. The only difference really is on primes, you get much wider apertures, so you get much creamier bokeh and background blur, etc. All right. So there's also no loss of contrast wide open. So I think that's a really important part of this lens because that allows this to be a very good portrait lens, particularly in the studio, where when you're shooting people in the studio, you generally don't want to just have their eyes in focus. That's a neat trick and all, but when you're making portraits of people, you want to try to have the whole head in focus. So f4, you can shoot this thing f4 all day long with no loss of contrast, no loss of sharpness. It is beautiful at f4. I personally use it to shoot portraits. I like its range for shooting portraits because I can shoot all the way up to 120, which gives a nice compressed portrait, which I like. But I can also, and it's f4 all across the range, so I can shoot at pretty much any focal length and have the exact same f4 and have the exact same level of quality. So as far as portrait lenses goes, it's an excellent portrait lens. Like I said, for bokeh monster type people, okay, fine. But I see the bokeh thing as in a lot of ways being a nice trick, but it's not entirely something you can make a living on. When you're shooting portraits, especially studio portraits, bokeh is not something you really concentrate that much on. Don't flame me for that, guys. I know some of you are bokeh monsters, and I'm just, I'm calling it like I see it. Most portrait photographers don't shoot any wider or larger apertures than f4 most of the time. Okay, that said, One other place where this is not a good lens may be astrophotography. The f4 aperture affects the astro a little bit. I know with today's cameras that you have very good high ISOs, and with the software we have now that can clean these images up, it's not as big a deal. And if it's just your hobby, you're probably fine at f4. If you are a professional astrophotographer, you're likely not shooting with this lens anyway. You're likely going to be shooting either with a telescope or with some very specific primes that are either very wide and very, very large aperture, like 1.2 or even 1.0. So this may not be the best for astro, but I use it for astro all the time and I have no real problems with it. That said, I'm not a professional astrophotographer. So, color rendition and saturation. They are both very, very good and very accurate, and almost as good as the 24-70 2.8. That lens, of course, is the best 24-70 I've ever shot, and I think it's a fantastic lens, and I own it, and I'm filming on it right now. But I don't carry it in the field. I rarely use it for most portrait work, though I will pull it out for portrait work. The extra stop of light and the extra out of focus for the background can be very handy when doing portrait work. In fitting with what I said earlier. The only real difference, like I said, is the one stop of light, but also you lose, 50 millimeters? 70 to 120. That's a range I use a lot. So if I was shooting with the 24-70 all the time, I'd be missing that. And it's hard to make that up because I frequently shoot right around 100, and often as much as 110, and up to 120 depending. So missing that, for me, the trade-off is worth it. And especially, like I said, because I don't use f2.8 that much in portrait work, I don't like to lose focus on the face, so I want to keep both eyes in focus. So I stay at about f4 for most of my portrait work. All right, size and weight. I like the size and weight of this lens. Yes, it's larger. It's large-ish. I can't show you how it compares to the 24-70 because that's on the camera right now, but it's not as heavy as the 24-70 2.8, and it's not as large as the 24-70 2.8. It does open larger, but that's beside the point. In general size, it's a really good trade-off. I feel like the size and weight are a really acceptable trade-off for the durability, the range, and the image quality you're getting. So this is, I don't have a problem with the size. Now, some of you that are shooting the ZF may have an issue. I shoot this on the ZF all the time, as you've seen in my videos about the ZF thus far. This has been the lens I'm shooting on. Oh, by the way, I got a 28mm 2.8 for the ZF. So that should be a really good thing. And I'm trying to see if I can find a 40 f2 as well on the used market, so I can test both of those lenses out and see if I can put together a nice compact landscape package that then I will make a video about, and we'll talk about how those lenses stack up. Anyway, so size and weight, no problem. I like it. One other thing I wanted to mention, you give up the f2.8 so that you get a much smaller lens. If you go up to 2.8, and if you were at 2.8 at a 24 to 120, you would have a really, really big lens. So yeah, the f4 maintains the size and the weight of this. Like I said, bokeh obsessed or obsessed astro people, this might not be the lens for you, but it might be the lens for you. It just really all depends on how you use it. Price. This is a big one for people. It's a bargain. It's only $1,000. Now, $1,000 is a lot of money. I will not dispute that. But for this lens, a lens like this, it's a good price. It's not a bad price. If you look at the 24-70 2.8, the one we're filming on, it's twice the price of this. I guess it might be a little bit cheaper now, but I don't think so. When I bought it when it first came out, and that lens cost me $2,300, $2,400, I think, $2,399. That's ridiculous, right? I traded my D850 for that lens. But the price on this is $1,000. For what this is capable of, for video work, for portrait work, for commercial work. I've used it shooting architecture. I've used it shooting portraits. I've used it shooting real estate even. I've shot location. I've shoot landscape with it. It is appropriate for all professional level photography, as well as hobbyist. I mean, what's the difference, right? Like, we use all these terms. Are they really important terms? Probably not, but I'm trying to get the point across that this will work for all types of commercial work, as well as whatever else you want to use it for. It is a fantastic lens. I just can't sing the praises of this lens enough, and that's why it stays on my camera. Dollar for dollar though, $1,000 for this, bargain. Period. It's a bargain. It's a great price. So anybody that is in the Nikon paddock realm, whatever you want to call it, if you're a fanboy, if you're not, whatever, if you're just shooting Nikon, everyone should own this lens. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't want to own this lens. There's no reason whatsoever to not purchase this lens, unless all you do is shoot with primes. This is the core lens, at least in the way I work, and I'm sure in the way most people work, this could be the perfect core lens. As I said before, unless you need something small and light, so you're just shooting primes, or you're a bokeh monster and you need 1.8, 1.4, or 1.2 aperture, this lens is close to perfect for everything and anything that you can get. It's capable at all apertures, focal lengths, it's edge-to-edge sharp, it's contrasty. It properly renders anything you could think of for commercial work, from fine art, hobbyist work, or anything else without any problems. I don't think you can go wrong with this lens at all. Wow, have I just sat here and said over and over you can't go wrong with this lens? I think that says it. Guys, this is still my absolute favorite lens Nikon's ever come out with. I use it more than any other lens. So listen, I sing the praises of this lens. I love this lens. I will tell everyone I meet, buy this lens, buy this lens, buy this lens. I use it for everything. And I think you've seen, as we've gone through this video, that it's been really my go-to lens for almost everything. The only thing I really change it out for is if I need something ultra wide, and then I go to the 14 to 30 f4, or if I need something really long, and then I go to the 100 to 400 f4 to 5.6. This lens is fantastic. I really appreciate you coming out today. And listen, if this was useful at all, please thumbs up, please subscribe. Too many of you are watching and not doing that. YouTube it's not free. We don't do this just because we love it. I spend 30 hours a week working on this channel so that I can hopefully get some traction with it and maybe even make some money one day. Not making any money yet. Maybe one day though, it would be nice. Because I absolutely love doing this work. I was a college professor for 13 years and I love teaching, but I absolutely hated the politics of it. And then I worked in everything from construction to photography. I mean, I had my own photography business the whole time anyway, but that was a business that has become harder and harder to make a solid living in. And moving to Maine, I decided I wanted to dedicate all my time to this channel. And so now I'm living off the savings, dedicating all my time to this channel, and hopefully I'll develop a following. And if you have any thoughts or ideas or ways I could make this content work better for you, I would love to hear that down in the comments as well. All right, thank you. Like, subscribe, buy this lens. Have a great weekend. And if I don't see you before Christmas, I think it will, but if I don't see you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy Hanukkah. All the different Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever it is. Have a great holiday season, guys. I will see you later. Thanks again. Bye-bye.